My name's Johnny Walker. I'm the Vice President of Business Development here at INFOclosure.com. Pardon me. Today we're gonna give you guys the ins and outs and a real good understanding of how the foreclosure trustee sale market works. I will preface this by telling you that this space is for some and it's not for others, and you'll have a real good understanding of whether or not it is or isn't for you or your clients when Rick is done. My cards will be here. There'll be a question and answer period when Rick gets done with his presentation. So if you have questions as you go along, just jot them down and he'll cover them, probably most of them at the end, or raise your hand. I mean, we'll be glad to do it. We're also streaming live. We have some folks online that are also attending, but not in the room. So if we get some questions, Rick will repeat the question for their purposes, and then if you have any questions, they'll text them in. So enjoy. Everybody get some lunch, and I'd like to introduce you to Rick Rickert.
Great. Thanks, Johnny. Appreciate that. Thank you. I want to first start off by sharing a little bit about my background and why I got into this space. I picked up my first property in 1998 at public auction. Coming out of that, I left corporate America in 1998 and kind of in the process of trying to figure out what I want to do. I came to fundamental things. It was one, I was either going to build homes or I was going to buy a trustee sale and go through that process and fix them up and sell them. And I realized in going through it, I thought, you know, if I build homes, I've got to go through inspections, and I'm basically starting with dirt. You know, I was going to build spec homes and start with dirt and go through that process. And it takes a fairly long time to go through that process. And I thought the flip side of that is buy it at auction. It's already standing. It needs a cleanup. It needs paint. It needs carpet. It needs, maybe quite a few things. But I don't necessarily have to go through inspections because it is my own home at that point, and I can pretty much put lipstick on a pig and put it on the market if I so choose. And so that's really the route I went and the route I chose to go. And I'm happy I did. Bought my first property in 98 at public auction. And up until that point, I went to many boot camps, many weekend seminars, read many books. And it wasn't until I completed my first sale that I realized, and no offense to them, but the presenters at those, seminars and the authors of those books had not done what I had just done. And because they just didn't, and I knew they didn't because going through the process, I'm like, holy cow, there's a whole lot of unknowns in here that came about. Just on my first property, but then some new things showed up on the second property I bought, and then the third property I bought. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that, and I didn't know about that. And so what you're going to get today is years of experience that have gone through this process before. The process is a bit of a mystery for those who haven't yet, and they should, in my opinion, if it's right for you. Is to kind of take some of those unknowns out of the way. And that's what I want to do, is take the learning curve and just kind of, so you don't have to go through and go, oh, I wonder if this is a good buy. I wonder if I'm doing the right thing. It allows you to step into this space sooner. And when I talk about this space, this is the majority of the people in here are real estate professionals. And this is really for you because one of the biggest challenges in the market today is getting inventory for your clients. And not just your investor clients, but your end user clients. And just to let you know, we're just about to come out with the details, and we'll do a lunch and learn on it probably in the next week or two, specific to how to bring your end user to auction and buy for them. Because one of the biggest drawbacks there was, well, if the property has to be paid for in 24 hours, which it does, how do we do that? Because the conventional loan, the VA loan, the FHA loan can't come into play, right at that point. So we've set up a bridge. Equity lender Titan that allows you to go from auction through Titan, and then the ultimate lender for your approved buyer is going to do a takeout loan, be it 30 days, 60 days, 6 months, whatever that appropriate time period is, and we'll pull all that together for you in an in-depth conversation so you know the practice. The stuff at auction to a degree isn't much different than some of the REO inventory that's out there and some of the challenges with the short sale inventory. From the standpoint of the carpets have been neglected and the walls haven't been painted and the ACs haven't been addressed and updated, and some of that attention hasn't been done. So it isn't much different, but what we're going to really present to you is the importance of your due diligence on the front end for your client is to make sure you know as much as you can possibly know about that purchase. If it's vacant, find out a lot more things. If it's occupied, you have to roll the dice a little bit. And so again, we'll go through those things. Not any different than I did on my first purchase. Kind of going back to 1998. Fortunately, I made a profit on my first purchase. It's the only thing I did. I bought one property, and I didn't do anything else till I sold it. And it took me about 90 days. It was in Dobson Ranch. And I made about a $17,000 profit. And holy cow, I really learned a lot in this 90-day period. And now I caught the bug, and then I went and bought two. And then, and then I just kept going from there. And there was a point, and then I learned about hard money. And leveraging yourself and being able to do more. So my goal at that point, I was just trying to do 4 a month. I was trying to turn, 4 a month at some interval. And that was a lot of fun. But what I realized over time was I was doing all this due diligence, getting ready for the buy the next day. And so I wasn't buying a lot of properties, on a rotation. I was buying maybe 4 properties a month, a property a week. Well, the challenge I was having was I was doing my own, not my own remodeling. I painted a few rooms and laid a little bit of tile, but for the most part, I subbed that out. But what I was still going through was overseeing those projects and trying to buy at auction again. And the time it was taking me, I was having to go find the data to see what was coming up for sale tomorrow. Then I had to sift through and figure out what had an opening bid and what didn't. And then I had to figure out, the analysis. Is it a good buy? Is it not a good buy? And then I had to check the lien position. Then I had to go and drive the property and then, go drive down and bid on it the next day. And I was probably, in order to make a buy for the next day, I was probably putting in nothing less than 8 hours in a particular day in order to do that. So very, very frustrating, very time consuming. It got to the point where, and that was just to then go out and participate at auction and do that. So I was into it 10, 12 hours a day easily. Now I was enjoying it and I was having fun doing it. But one of the questions I had in the back of my head was, did I really leave corporate America, for my 10 hours there versus what I'm doing now to do this thing? Because I did not want this to become a job. I wanted it to still be fun. What I was always looking for was a service that would do this all for me. And I needed data in one place. I just needed to be able to access it quickly and have accurate data at my fingertips. I needed somebody to check lien position for me. I needed somebody to go down and do the bidding for me. So I could do what I did best, which was analyze a deal, right? So if I knew this property was coming up for auction tomorrow, I can take the time to really analyze the deal, find out if it's a good buy, make the buy, and then go ahead and manage my project and do my own thing, which is, I thought, where my best time was spent. That company, that service never showed up, so I created it. And that's what you're getting today with INFOclosure.com, and that's what this presentation is about. It's about how to step into this space without spending 3 or 5 or 8 or 10 hours doing it. This is an alternative and an addition to MLS. So one of the big challenges, again, we have is where do we automatically go when our client says, hey, find me a property that looks like X? We immediately go right to MLS and see what's available. What I'm opening up to you today is there is a whole nother subset of inventory available, and through INFOclosure.com makes it very easy because we take care of the A to Z on the acquisition side. So everything you need, including our of Titan Capital Holdings, which allows the bridge lending or the hard money lending to support that as well. So that's a little bit of the background to get you started. We have purchased, for myself, I've done probably 150 fix and flip, and I still look for some occasionally where I can find a good buy and do that. I've got a handful that I've held, some duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes that I've picked up at auction. I'm going to show you some examples of that. As well as we've bought probably in excess of 2,000 properties over that course of time for our clients. So we're in the space. It's not new to us. While it may be new to you, that's what we're opening up today is don't forget about the inventory that's available through public auction because it is still a consistent flow. There's probably anywhere from 35 to 80 opening bids. I think the open bid list for today was 79. And that's a lot of opening bids. Now, not all of those are going to be what's right for you or your client, but again, that's opportunity that's there that is not on MLS that you have direct access to. The way to buy a trustee sale is through our service or a service like ours. Everything you're getting exposed to today you can go down and do, but go back to my original story. To gather all that information and pull that data together and do your analysis and go bid, you've just upped your time in the space from an hour or less a day to probably 8+ hours, because it's not that easy to do. And now that the heat is coming on, standing down at the courthouse steps and doing your bidding is less desirable. So and I've done that for years, and it's one of those things you just have to tough out. But it becomes it's not like the reality show that you see on TV. Can we say this? There isn't much reality in a reality show. If you know anything about the space, we are not walking around in front of a property on a cell phone looking at each other. That doesn't exist. It just isn't there. But if you want to come down to 201 West Jefferson, where it actually happens, and you may see some of those same players from TV there, that's the reality. That's what happens. It's anticlimactic, it's grueling, it's hot, it's boring at times, but it is the grind, and that's the way they call the sales out. But it's not exactly the TV show. But they did make it for good television, I'll tell you that. I watched 2 episodes, I couldn't watch anymore, and then I went on. So our agenda is this. We're going to look at the trustee sale process, some common myths associated with buying at trustee sale, how to earn a commission. It's one of the biggest holdbacks for agents in terms of stepping into this space, because, well, wait a minute, it doesn't go through title. How do I actually earn a commission? Very simple and straightforward. I'm going to outline that for you. And then we're going to talk about the first step, which is really about exit strategy. And knowing that, whether it's for yourself or for your client, in terms of what do they want to do with this property, because that determines what you look at and how you approach it, from hard money to conventional loans to FHA loans or whatever the case may be. It all hinges off what is that person buying it going to do with it. Then we're going to take a look into the site, the actual tool that allows me to step into this space and allow you to step into this space very efficiently. Again, you go back to, and it took me 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours in a day if I was really digging into properties and looking before the evolution of INFOclosure came around. Now I can literally go through all the bids tomorrow and I can be down to the 3 or 4 or 5 that I'm really interested for tomorrow in a matter of a few minutes or less. And I'm going to show you that today. Then you take the time to analyze those deals, send them out to your client for approval, disapproval, and go from there. So that's what it comes down to. Then you spend the time to do the analysis, because that's the critical part. Finding data, and just to find the opening bid can take hours if you're not using a service like this. And to me, it's a waste of time. It just does not serve who we are as licensed individuals in order to serve who we want to serve. So that's looking into the site. So why trustee sales? The question always comes down is like, I don't know. I don't know if I should be buying down there. One, if you are licensed, number one, you do want to talk to and you decide to be in this space, because some of you will walk out of here today and go, this isn't for me. I'm glad I heard what I heard, and this isn't for me. And if that's the case, I respect that, I honor that, and I appreciate you came by for an hour and joined us for lunch. But for those of you who go, no, I think this is for me, and I think this may be for my clients, in addition to everything else I'm doing, because I'll never tell you to stop looking at MLS, because we can't, right? That's the lifeblood of the industry. But this is a subset of the industry that's very important. If we're not looking in this space, we're missing opportunity for our clients and missing commissions and everything else. So why trustee sales? Q1 and Q2 of 2013, 50% of all properties will be foreclosed or distressed properties. That's not a such a wow moment in terms of what's going on in the industry. Last year was probably 60 to 75%, and the year before was easily 75% of everything on the market and kind of going through the pipeline was a foreclosure. What we're seeing right now is a leveling off effect, which is great, because the market values are going up. I don't want them to go up too fast. I'm sure you don't either. For our own personal homes, we want to see it. We want to see it skyrocket, but that really isn't a reality that, from a market standpoint, that we really want to embrace. We want to see them, kind of slowly inching up and getting into play. But we're seeing a leveling off. What we're seeing in the inventory now, in 2009, 2010, which was really gangbusters at auction. Those were homes that were either purchased and or refinanced in the time frame of 2003 to 2007 is kind of when the valve got shut off. That was the bulk of what was going through. Just everything went up, and then as quick as it went up, it really started crashing. But what we're seeing today, a lot of the loans were a loan originated in 2008, 2009, 2010, where people are defaulting. And the question is why are people defaulting? Well, It's not because of adjustable rate mortgages, and we heard so much of that in like 2007, 2008. That's what was on the news. That's what the big media ran with was, oh, in the next 6 months, 500,000 or a million loans are going to adjust in rate, and then the foreclosures are going to shoot up accordingly. Well, it isn't necessarily true. Did it play a role in that market? Yes, but what it comes down to is this: it's death, divorce, illness, loss of job, any and all of the vices, coupled with poor money management, which is the American way, and sure, an adjustable rate mortgage that goes up X amount of dollars, does that play into I didn't plan for it, so it falls under poor money management? Yes, but those are the real reasons. It's something personal, it's something individual that happens in the home that causes this home to go to foreclosure. What we've seen, interestingly enough, too, over the last few years, probably the last 3 and more so in the last 2 in the last year, was the strategic default, where people are going, you know what, I still owe this on the house, and at one point it was worth this, and now it's kind of worth this, but I think it's going to take X amount of years for it to get back to that, and I just don't want to make this payment anymore on a house that just has no equity and won't have equity, and it won't even be at break even for X amount of years in their opinion, and so they're doing what's called the strategic default, and they're walking. Now, I'm not judging it. I get it. It's their financial decision. It's their business decision, if you will, and that happens. So, but that's some of what we're seeing as well too, is that there's homes that people are walking from, not because they can't pay, it's they choose to not pay, and it's a little different segment. We haven't really seen that in past years because as equity goes up, people didn't walk away from equity ever. It just wasn't, it just wasn't in the consciousness of going, I think I'm just going to walk from my home. It's like, no, I'll sell my home. There's no short sale involved, and you get equity. Even if you break even, that's a win because it doesn't harm your credit. So the question comes back to why add trustee sales to your overall strategy, and it really comes down to this. And we do it in a graphic or a kind of a timeline form to kind of clean it up and just, look at the concept. And the concept is this: if I take a property today, for instance, for fix and flip, and I'm going to take possession, I'm going to take keys today, and then I'm going to turn this on the market. I'm still going to plan for my analysis when I analyze things. I'm going to use 120 days cycle, which means I've got it today, it is mine, and I'm going to start cleaning it out, and I'm going to get my painters in, my carpet guys, everybody to do everything. And then I'm going to get it on the market, and I'll be on the market in a week or two at the most, and then let the market do its thing. So you put it on MLS, and you get end user buyers coming in to buy this at market because I bought it at X, and I'm going to sell it at market and go forward. 120 close is that process. Now, the acquisition is really what I want to talk about here. So if we all follow that 120 days to close on all 3 scenarios, the short sale, if you can get them closed, right, and sometimes we can't get them closed. Sometimes we cannot get the bank to approve and go through the process, and a hiccup comes in halfway through it, and it doesn't work for the buyer, doesn't work for the seller, doesn't work for the bank, and everybody walks away. So on those that you can get through, some are going through quicker, maybe 3 months, 6 months, 9 months to get the deal, to get possession, and then to go ahead and turn it on a fix and flip. REOs, again, not as long, but can be longer. Because again, an REO, the distinction between an REO and a short sale is the bank owns it at that point. It's gone through the foreclosure process, so it's no longer with the trustor. It is with the bank, and they're a little bit easier to negotiate on their own asset. But still, it can take a month, 2 months, 3 months to acquire the property and then go through the flip process. Trustee sales is fundamentally different because the list that you have in your booklet today, your folder today, is everything going to auction tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow's list or today's list. Let me take a quick look for you. Today's list. So there are 360 properties being cried out at auction today, and of that, I think there's 78, 79 that had an opening bid. So of that 78, 79, there's going to be a number of, could be anywhere between probably 20 and 60 that get bought by a third party. That's me or you or somebody else down in the courthouse steps. Now, the whole key to getting into this space is this: being able to analyze the deal in a short period of time and be ready to buy. So it's realistic that you could buy something in a very short period of time, be it 1 to 5 days, if the deal is right. And again, not every deal is right. So you have to let those that don't work for you pass. Then it's a matter of acquiring the property. So literally, I could look at a property today, I could bid on it tomorrow at auction, and I could be in on it working on it over the weekend. Now, with that short time period,
I see a list here,
yes,
and it's for today.
yes.
How many days
We had those houses in our database 85 days ago. So and I'm going to talk to you in a minute about the timeline. From the recording of the notice of trustee sale to the auction date, there's about a 90-day window. It's about a week before we have the data pulled into our database. So I have data in our database out 85 days, is another way to say it.
2.5 months to evaluate these houses and see which ones you might want to go for.
Right. So his question is, and this is an important one. I want to open this up to everybody. So basically, with the fact that I've got data in the database out to 85 days, you really have like 2.5 months to analyze the deal. Well, so I want to create a distinction here, and this is important. I don't have an opening bid for anything out 85 days. I don't have an opening bid for anything out 60 days. I don't have an opening bid for anything out 40 days. I don't have an opening bid for anything out 10 days. Now, I have a few opening bids out 8 days, 9 days, 7 days, 6 days, 5 days, but I've got a lot of opening bids for tomorrow, and I have few for, what is today, Wednesday, and I have few for Friday. So
You said opening bid, is that the reserve they put on it, or your estimate of where you would start?
no, it has nothing to do with my estimate where we start. It's when the trustee opens up to the public that there is an opening bid, that, you know, the strike bid or the reserve. I did not set it. It's the trustee from the beneficiary giving us that number. And the reason because I play this game, if you will, 1 day in advance. So I look today for tomorrow. Now, can you look 85 days out or 60 days out? You can, but there's no opening bid. So the question is, which ones will get postponed? Which ones will be canceled? So you could burn up a lot of time. And I'm going to show you how to get in the space and play for less than an hour a day, and probably even much less than that, to go specifically what you're looking for. Because I've got somebody I know who came to me and said, Rick, my dad's coming in from Illinois, and I want to find him a condo in Scottsdale, and I want it to kind of look a little bit like this and a little bit like that. And I'm like, that's perfect. That's the easiest search. Because you go into the database, literally you'll be in there, and everything done in 15 minutes or less. Kind of like MLS. It's like, boom, you get in, you look exactly what you're looking for, and pull it out. But he's only going to be looking for those with opening bids. Because if it doesn't have an opening bid, it's either postponed, canceled, or something else. And it says that. You know, you can see the status here in the column about the middle. It gives the status. Lots of postponements, lots of TBD. We don't have an opening bid yet. The majority of those will get postponed.
To finish out what his question and what you're saying, is the ones that are blank that doesn't have an opening bid, the reasons are because?
There's a lot of blanks here, and if you look over about to the middle where it says status, if it says TBD, it just means we don't know yet, to be determined. But then you can see a lot are postponed. There's a handful canceled, and then where it says opening bid, obviously you glance to the right, and boom, there's the opening bid.
So when it says to be determined, then is there a timeline on that?
Here, yes, there is a timeline on the to be determines, and the to be determines. Title 33, Arizona Revised Statutes, governs the process of trustee sales. And in that process, the trustee is supposed to give an opening bid. The trustee should give an opening bid between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. the day before, or anytime up until the time of sale. So literally, it's 12:30 right now. There could be a 12:30 sale that we had a TBD for that they will only announce at auction, that will only get through auction. And it is rare, but it does happen, and it doesn't really give people time to play in it. So it's a little bit of an anomaly, but it does happen. So we don't have the full control because the state, the law allows them to have a last minute. Now, it does not serve the trustee, the bank, or the trustor in the process of doing it late. The best is give the opening bids out early. Give us a chance to analyze them, because the higher it goes, not necessarily better for our client, but the higher it goes, it's better for the bank, it's better for the trustee, and it's better for the trustor. So, there's a balance there, but we don't always have that. But the majority we do. Most of what you have TBD there, I'd say 95% of that is going to get postponed to a future date. Okay. Now again, to reiterate, I'm going to bring that back down. I play today for tomorrow. I'll be looking today's list for tomorrow. So the gentleman who came to me said, hey, I'm looking for that condo. Dad wants a condo in Scottsdale. Boy, that's easy. If that's all I had to look at in a day, I mean, I'm in the database. Take me 2 minutes to, cut it down to the Scottsdale properties, get rid of everything that's not, get rid of everything that's not a condo, and then I can just go through and go, what's the square feet, what's the year built, what's the location, do a little Google map search on it, and figure out, should I even take a further look? And if it doesn't meet the location, the size, the year built, boom, it's off the list, and then just look tomorrow, and then look the next day, and look the next day, and be ready to hit that. I have depending on, what I'm looking for, like I'll look at stuff on the west side. I have an office, here in Mason. I live in Gilbert, so I love the stuff between my office and my home for my own personal, because from an investment, it's just a lot easier for me to control rather than going out to Surprise, which I don't do. I usually send somebody out there, to do it for me. So, but at the same time, Surprise is, I don't know how many people know Surprise, but that's a great city. They laid it out well. The city planners should get an award for doing what they did in Surprise. I think it's one of the best laid out cities in the valley. It happens to be really far away, but as the appreciation comes back, it's I have no concern about that particular city or really any pocket in that city. That's going to do very well. But of course, I like the East Valley. I like Chandler. I like Gilbert. Those mainstays. I don't do a lot in Scottsdale myself, just because it's Scottsdale and the prices vary and the areas are very variable as well. So again, bringing it back around, this is about acquisition strategy. Add this to what you're doing. Don't stop anything you're doing, but if you need more inventory for yourself or your clients, trustee sales is a great way to step in and be able to play at another level. Now, there's risks in it, and I'll go through more of those risks as well about individual properties, because not every property is a good property. Okay, let's take a look at this. The next 3 slides are properties that I bought at trustee sale. These go back maybe 18 months or so. I've got this one. I left the before picture in because I didn't want to give any illusion that a $21,000 purchase on a 4-plex at auction is dreamy in any way. Now it looked great when we were done because we painted it, new roof, did some landscaping out front, so so it really came around well together. But this was a great buy, and I'll tell you why. From the standpoint of, well, let me back up. In 1998, I started with single-family homes. I did single-family homes all the way up until probably 2009, 2010. I had somebody come to me and go, Rick, all I've done for the last 10 years is plexes. I don't have any money because I lost it all when the market crashed. I want to get back into it. Do you want to do some JV stuff? But it's all I know. And I said, sure, let's do a few together and see how it goes. And this is one. Actually, I think this one I did on my own, but we did a few before that because I was like, I don't know, let's check the space out. But then when I really started studying it, I went, holy cow, look what 4-plexes are going for. There was a duplex yesterday that I thought, or no, it was a triplex. I think that the opening bid was like 25 or 28,000, and I'm not in the market at the moment for that because I'd prefer to flip at the moment, but they make for a good buy. Here's what I really liked about this one. It was, in my opinion, way undervalued. Now, not a great area of Phoenix if you know Yuma Street in Phoenix, but they're cash-paying tenants and they pay consistently. They're very good tenants. And when you lose a tenant there, within a day or two you have another tenant in play ready to go because the rents aren't high. They're $400 a month rents. When we bought the unit, it had 2 tenants in and 2 out. So we were 50% occupied. So one, it was in a sense it was cash flowing and working for us. Sure.
Was that done after you fixed it up?
Yes. Yeah. We did the appraisal after we fixed it.
And you do that all the time? You always have it appraised after you fix the property?
Do I have an appraisal all the time? No, I really kind of went to this one. No. So I want to kind of bring this back for a second and talk about exit strategy. I buy some of these and hold them for life. But then I buy some of them and I add the value to it and I turn around and sell it because I know there's a pretty decent margin. This one we're like, okay, we bought it so low. What is this thing worth? Like, let's just throw it out there and get an appraisal on it. I still held it for a couple of years. I think I sold it not too long ago for $75,000. I didn't hold out to $80,000. It's just I wanted it off my books because here was the downside of this one property. The tenants won't mail the rent because they pay in cash. So we always had to send somebody out to do it, and it's become a little bit of a hassle. So we just said, you know what, it's great. The cap rate is phenomenal. And it's all clean. It's all, really it needs nothing. Except one unit, we did 3 out of the 4 units. The one tenant was like, I don't want mine remodeled. I'm fine. I don't want to move my stuff out to move it back in. We put about another 22,000 into the renovations to bring it back to where we needed it. Some plumbing work, needed a new roof, obviously exterior paint. There is actually a door on unit number 2 there. It's just they had a curtain there, but the door was wide open. Because originally when I looked at the picture, I'm like, oh my God, we have a unit without a door. I think that might be a safety issue. We got to put one on.
If someone doesn't have the cash to fix it up, are you gonna go over where they get the cash to hire these people to fix it up?
I'm sorry? Well, you know, there is, if you don't know yet, there is a lunch and learn tomorrow here through Titan, which is an affiliate company of ours, on Hard Money Made Easy. And it's about bridging these. And Titan does have programs that they do a first position mortgage, and then they do have an option for renovation dollars as well. But there's an equity position. They're equity lenders. So there still has to be a little bit of skin in there, you know, a little equity in there to make sure they can do the loan. But that is a possibility. So if nobody has cash, going through a hard money lender is a possibility. Now, that can be expensive if you end up financing the whole thing. And they'll talk more in detail tomorrow about how expensive is hard money. Well, if you're using a very short period of time, a couple months, it's very inexpensive, even at 18%. If
Tomorrow be streamed?
I'm sorry?
Will tomorrow be streamed?
Tomorrow will be streamed. You can register and catch it online as well.
Be able to catch it tomorrow streamed, but is it recorded and come back later?
It will be recorded. There should be a business card in there for John Walker. If you don't have a card in there, he's in the back of the room. I've got his card here. He can send you a link so you can get on and view that. Yes, it is. They're always streamed and they're always recorded, so you can catch it at a later date. You bet. Now, here's the other alternative to that. If you don't have access, let's say the hard money lender can't do it based on the equity position, you know, a joint venture is another possibility. I'm not a huge fan of joint ventures because I kind of like to control my own deals and do my own thing. But if you don't have the money readily available and it's got to be done, a joint venture is, you know, the person who has the money but not the time to join something like that. Be careful when you set up your joint ventures. Don't try to save the money. It's worth doing through an attorney to make sure all the expectations, all the knowns, all the unknowns are addressed and going forward. So, because some JVs work out great and others don't. So you just want to be careful with that. So again, I'm going to kind of go through the next 2 slides fairly quick, but I just want to give you the scope of what's available at auction. 4plexes, triplexes, duplexes, and you can get them in all price ranges in all parts of the valley. I was real happy with this deal. A lot of people look at that and go, whoa, that's not me. And I'm like, numerically, did it make sense? Sure. Do I spend a lot of time in the neighborhood and hanging out down there? I don't. But, you know, my guys went in, they did the work, they're in, they're out, and the tenants loved it. I mean, literally, my guys were getting hugs because when, you know, the people came back in when their place was renovated, they were just, holy cow, this is like Christmas. And, you know, they got new kitchens and new paint and new carpet and, you know, flooring, you know, the whole thing. Same rent, yeah, absolutely, yeah, because they already had leases in place and we honored the leases, and but we'll raise those over time, and now somebody else owns that, and I'm sure they'll raise them over time. Okay, this one right here on Solomon, which is not far from here, it's just north of US 60 off of Stapley. I like this neighborhood. I think this is a sweet spot in the market, and here's why. There's something I call sweeps, and this isn't a sweep, but a sweep is a home that's built in the last 5 years, and it's new, and the tile roof and the stucco, and, you know, it's had one owner, maybe 2 up a little bit, but that's walls and carpet, and, you know, the paint and carpet need to be done. I call that a sweep. Basically, you come in, you sweep it out, and you put it on the market, and you're ready to go. Now, everybody wants a sweep. And, you know, so the play on the sweeps at auction is they get put up and the margins are fairly tight. So the key understanding there, hey, Johnny, could you make sure that the AC is where it should be? Thank you. The key on those is to make sure you really know what the market calls for, especially on a fix and flip, that you've got some margin in there to do what you need to do. Actually, if you just grab David for that, Johnny, thanks. I call this a sweet spot in the market because it's an older home. It's block construction. It's built in the, you know, this was built in 78, 79. And it's a good, steady home in a good, steady neighborhood. And when I drove this property originally, this is an after picture. So when I drove it originally, it looked rough. I mean, the trees were unkept. That's a evap unit in between the trees on the roof. That had all 4 sides off and just kind of laying out there. So to the kind of the new person, they'd look at that and go, I don't know, you know, because common sense tells most people that's the AC unit. Fortunately, I knew it was an evap, so the expense of it was different. I could pull it off and cap it and do a lot of things and not worry about kind of bringing it back. But what it really came down to was it looked rough. There wasn't a garage, it was a carport, and it needed exterior paint. So I came back, I drove it, looked at it, and went, yep, that's for me, and went back to my office and did my analysis. It was occupied, so I couldn't see the inside. So I had to buffer myself. I had to plan in my evaluation a little bit heavier because I don't know what the inside looks like. Outside's a little bit rough, so there could, the inside could follow suit with that, and that's what I planned for numerically. Well, I won the bid at 84.7, and I put about another 15 into it. I had planned for putting about 20 into it because I thought I'd have to redo the kitchen, the cabinets, and some other things. Fortunately, going into it, the interior was almost immaculate. New kitchen, brand new cabinets, new countertops. The flooring was in good shape. It was new tile. I painted the interior, I think, or a few rooms. There were a few rooms that were good. The people who were there, he was a remodeler by trade. So he had the interior, done, didn't do the exterior yet. We put a garage on, walled in the one side, which the truth of it is, it cost me about $1,800 to put garage door, and wall it in, where I probably didn't get my money out of it, but I sold the property quicker. So I didn't, because if every other home has one has a garage, one has a carport, the resale value or the speed at which somebody will take that one over another one, the garage is king, and we know that. And so we made sure we put that together. That turned out to be a nice property. Had on the market at $149.9. Couldn't get an appraiser to go there, and the top we could go was $145. Still netted out about 32. I forget the exact number. 35,000 right in there. That's the sweet spot. Now, that doesn't happen every day. That was a really good property for us. I know it primarily because I think it's a good neighborhood, and I want to show you that the older homes where, if it needed the kitchen, I had already planned for it. So I had kind of the money was bigger because I didn't take that money out of my pocket. It came back to me in the but again, it's one of those things to look at because everybody's after the new stuff. And, you want to, if you have good investors and you have potentially good end user buyers, those are homes you don't want to pass up on.
If you put $15,000 in it, then you had $90,700 in it, and you said you netted $132. What happens to the rest of the money if it's over $120?
Well, you've got closing costs and commissions. You got closing cost commissions, and then we may have given, it might have been FHA, we might have given some seller assistance.
That's the other question. Are you a realtor? Do you sell your houses by yourself?
I do, I am licensed.
So,
Yep.
So when you sell them, you don't have to pay your own self-commission?
No, I don't pay, yeah, I do, but I always pay 3%. And actually on a lot of these, I'll put mine out at 3.5%. For the same reason is I'm not taking, there isn't a commission being paid on my side because I do sell my own deals. But a lot of times I'll go out to the market and at 3.5%, and if it's low, I might move it to 4% because, sometimes that speaks. Okay.
Well, for tax purposes, you might take a commission on the seller side anyway.
Right. Yeah, because either way, one way or another, I'm
Either way,
paying
it's
tax
in
on
your
it.
pocket. One way, you might not pay as much in taxes.
Right. So this next one, and kind of the last of the three I wanted to show you was, this is a 96-unit C-grade apartment complex. It's on Brown Road. If you know Mesa, it's right on the corner of Brown and Horn, and it's on the south and east corner, and northeast corner. And when we bought that, I did a joint venture on this one. I got a call on a Wednesday night from the same guy who kind of introduced the Plex thing to me and said, Rick, the guys who I used to hang my license with have been in the space of doing this bigger stuff for 25, 30 years. Like, they are the guys, they know this space. And they said, this is coming up for auction. Aware of it? I looked in our database. Yep, sure enough, it's there. Going to sale the next morning at, Corals and Brady with an opening bid of $1.6 million. He said, hey, they're interested. They just did some deals. They got a little bit of cash, but they can't finance the deal. They're looking for a JV partner. They're looking for somebody to help them figure out the financing because they don't want to miss this opportunity. Are you interested? I said, I am. And I was in their office probably by 4, like an hour later at 4. I was walking out of there at 4:45 on a handshake. You guys are going to do this. I'm going to do this. And we're going to talk tomorrow morning about, are we going to move forward on this at 9 o'clock. And my role was get the money in play, and because of Titan and some other relationships I have in the hard money community, with a phone call, I knew that I had it covered. So my job was really easy, and my other part of my job was to double check the lien position and make sure we knew we were going to be, we were buying a first position lien, because on something this big, $100,000 property, you can't afford to make a mistake. $1.6 million, just forget about it. It's just you cannot put that money up and put it at risk. So that was my job. They went out and viewed the property, because again, that was their expertise, to actually walk on the site, eyeball the property, and determine whether or not this was a good deal. So we talked at 9 o'clock the next morning. We agreed, let's go to like 167, 168, just probably keep it under 1.7 million, and it's still a good deal for us. If it goes above that, let's just let it go. I walked into Quarles and Brady. I chose to go down and do the bidding myself, and went into Quarles and Brady, and I showed them my cashier's check, and they qualified me and checked me in. Cashier's check for $10,000. And another person came in, and they qualified them, and a third person came in, and they looked at their check and said, you have your check written out wrong, so you can't bid. And they were in a panic, and they left really quick and ran down to a bank to see if they could change their cashier's check out and get back in time. They never made it back in time. So there was 2 of us bidding on it. And the reason I bring that up is the importance of knowing how to step into this space. Now, if you're working through us, we have bidders at auction, and we know how our checks need to be made out and that whole process. So we'll never lose a deal because of that. But in this case, my competition just got cut in half, right? I'm competing as one individual instead of 2 on a deal like this, because somebody didn't know enough to call the night before, which I did. Quarles and Brady is a huge law firm, but they're not a huge trustee, and they have a particular set of rules, all within Title 33, about how to do it. Down at the courthouse steps, they give us a little leeway. We can write checks out to ourselves and then endorse them over, because we're bidding on multiple properties. That's what somebody assumed they could do showing up at Quarles and Brady, and it didn't work, and they couldn't play. That's a big opportunity if you don't know that. So I just want to share that from a perspective standpoint. Now, that was an 8-month project, and I'm just going to sum it up with this. Here's what I liked most about this project. We put 40 grand into a management account to kind of get it going and get it off the ground. From then on, we didn't stick another dollar into it. And that's because the rent roll took care of it. When we first came in, we thought the rent roll was about 70%. After all the doors were knocked on and the squatters and the no-pays, slow-pays were all identified, the occupancy dropped to 50. When we sold it 8 months later, we had it up to 93, 95%, which was phenomenal for a C property. But with the free month rent, $99 rent, or whatever they were doing, again, I wasn't involved in that part of it. They were very open to, Rick, you can come in, and you can play, you can lease, you can be part of any part of it you want. But I looked at it and went, you know what, I'm going to observe. This is my first big deal. I'm not going to get in here and mess anything up, out of respect for them, because they were the experts. I can bring money to the table. They were the experts in delivering this project, and I don't think I could have delivered it the way they did. But I learned a lot, and I'd be open to do another one, because I've got a little bit of taste of it. And it turned out well. You sold it at $2.2 million. It was a cash sale, closed very quick, and all told, we had about 1.7 into it. So everybody was happy with the result when it was done. Okay, Arizona trustee sale process. I'm going to give you the quick on this, and most people know this. Roughly 3 missed payments, and now we're kind of back to that in today's market. A notice of trustee sale comes out. If you don't know this, this is important. A notice of trustee sale is triggered by what you've already agreed to in the deed of trust that you signed for the home that you live in, if you live in if you have a note on your home. And that is the security instrument for the note that you took. We are a non-judicial state, as are most of the western states. There's 7 western states that were non-judicial. Everything Midwest to East is judicial. If you don't make your payment, your lender takes you to court, and you go through this court legal process in front of a judge, and then a date is set for auction. Here, it's you agreed to it. You already signed and said, and in most of our deeds of trust, it lists who the trustee is. So if you fail to pay, they turn the file over to the trustee after they give you proper notice. And the trustee, one of the first things they do is they do a notice of trustee sale. And on the notice of trustee sale, besides all pertinent information, is an auction date, which is 91 days out into the future, because the law says you can't hold a sale within 90 days. And that 90-day period is kind of that pre-foreclosure stage. That's where most short sales are listed, and they kind of take it serious and go, okay, they're knocking on our door hard, and we need to do something about this. But it's really the cure period, if you will, for the homeowner to go, I'm either going to try to cure this and solve the problem, or I am going to let it go at auction and go to my plan B. The sale at auction today, there's, what is it, like 360 sales being cried out. The majority are postponements, a handful are opening bids, and a smaller handful are canceled or, kind of disappeared off the face. With an opening bid, one of two things is going to happen. They're going to call out an opening bid, and it's going to be too high for any of us to be interested in. And if that's the case, the auctioneer's going to call out and going, the opening bid is $220,000. Do I hear any other bids? Going once, going twice, going three times. No other bids. Then struck off and sold back to the bank at $220,000, and that becomes an REO, the bank's inventory. The trustee's deed will be deeded to the bank, and it's off, the docket, if you will, in the trustee sale world. If it goes to auction with an opening bid and somebody says plus a buck, and the bidding either stops there or goes up from there, it's sold third party. So the trustee's deed is then going to be in my name or your name or your name, and then it's sold third party. So we're going to do whatever we want. You might turn into a rental. I may do a fix and flip on. Whatever your exit strategy is, that's fine. But that's the scope of what's happening at auction. In Arizona, we do not have redemption periods for non-judicial sales. So there is no redemption period for those that go through the trustee sale process. In many other states, there is a redemption period. And I think Illinois, even though that's judicial, they have it something like 210 days that the original trustor has a right to come back and redeem the property. You got to manage that. And there's a way to manage that. And again, we're not going to spend the hour talking about that, but there's certain things you can do to hedge your investment. But basically under a redemption period, they have a right to come back. And so what happens is you get your money back plus a nominal interest rate determined by the state. So nominal that it isn't worth the investment at that point. But you got to look at it this way. How many people who just went through a foreclosure could actually come back, and they have to pay cash, so they got to show up with a cashier's check. So it's unlikely they'd get a loan to cover that in the 210 days or whatever it is. Few states are 120 days or 180 days. So the likelihood of a reinstatement. But if you improve the house, you improved it for them if they earn the right to move back into it.
They can't take it at the price you paid for it. It's got to fulfill the original contract.
There's a dollar amount set on a redemption. There's a dollar amount set. It will include what you paid for it, plus anything the bank was short. So it'll be all encompassing. So yeah, it'll be a full reinstatement at that point. A larger number, most likely. Mm-hmm. Right. To make it unattractive. Okay, so I'm going to run through the myths here, and I'm going to kind of sum it up with one thing. I hear there's sharks at the auction. I hear there's, it's kind of a clique. It's a regular group. It's a fraternity of guys. And there's an element of truth to that. But also there's an element of falsehood to it, and I just I frame it this way. It's the difference between an amateur and a professional. I showed up down there in 1998 as what I would call a new professional. Not experienced, not anything. It's just I was brand new. I was a green professional. I knew nothing, very little. But I showed up down there with this intent was I will not get involved with the guys who are down there because they are first and foremost my competition. I've never lost sight of that in all the years. I've never had a beer with one of them. I just have not engaged with them on any personal or social level because they are my competition. And I think that's a fundamental difference that a lot of people don't get. I've seen many amateurs show up, and that's not a slight against anybody. It's just the way they show up at this space. Many people show up and go, hey, where did you get your list? And, are you bidding on such and such property on this address? And did you know anything about it? You're going to bid on it? Because I'm going to bid on it. It's like 2 doors down from me, and I'm going to turn into a rental. It's so exciting. We've been to many barbecues there. I know everything about the property. Really? What do you know about the property? Is it clean inside? I'm not bidding on it. But, and then half an hour later, this guy's bidding on it, right? And he had always intended to bid on it, but just with a few questions, draws all the information out of the amateur that they need to know. I know what you're bidding. I know how what's the interior of the home is like. I know if it's vacant. Know everything about it. And the new amateur goes up and delivers that, right? It's the poker game, right? We're all playing poker, but the new amateur turns his cards around for your benefit, right? Really dumb thing to do. The new professional, even if you don't know how to play poker, you should know enough to just hold the cards to your vest, right? And try not to give it away. The rule is in poker is if you haven't identified the patsy in the first 5 minutes, you're it. right? It just is. If you don't know who the sucker is around the table, you're it. And that's one of the elements of poker. So you don't want to step into this space and do the same thing because you're fundamentally, going to set yourself up for the loss, if you will. Because the more you talk down there, the more you give away about who you are and what you're doing, and that's your competition. That's not the place to do it. It's not the place to fact find. It's not the place to get leverage. I learned more about this whole auction process by going down there and never saying a word. I just listened. But if I ask questions, the question is will I get the truth in the answer? Or if I just don't ask any questions and I just listen and you hear the conversation go back and forth, they're not spewing the lies out back and forth between the regulars. You're hearing the truth, how to handle tax liens and how to handle this and all this. So you're gaining a ton of knowledge or an awareness of stuff you don't know in that process. So to go down and say nothing, you will gain everything. To open your mouth, you lose everything. Does that make sense? Okay, it's the poker game in a little bit different format. Okay, commissions. This is pretty simple and straightforward. Again, one of the biggest holdbacks for real estate agents is how do I make a commission in this space? And it comes down to this. Number one, and this really isn't on there, talk to your broker. Let your broker know that you plan to enter this space and buy on your own behalf, buy on an investor's behalf, or buy on an end user's behalf. It's really important that they know everything you're doing because your broker, your designated broker, ultimately has the risk for anything that you do while you're under their umbrella. So that's the starting point. Then it's a buyer-broker agreement, which we're all familiar with. You start with that with your investor and or end user. And then from there, I would create a simple one-page agreement for purchase. If I'm procuring cars at auction for you, you're agreeing to pay me X. And maybe you want to list the things you're going to do. I'm going to identify the property. I'm going to drive the property. I may manage some or part of the rehab or property management through the process. Whatever that is, I would state that in a simple one sheet, which basically, because here's the difference for the end user, buyer, or investor. You just have to write an extra check, right? They're going to write a check for the purchase of the home, and then they're going to write a check to you for the commission. That doesn't happen when it goes through title, right? Because they just deliver, right? They wire one lump sum of money, and then title goes, okay, this much money goes to this person, this much money goes here, this much money goes here, and they just divvy it all out. Well, this is a little different. When you're buying at auction, there's no premium on the auction. That's one of the questions we get, like, hey, does the auctioneer get a 5% bump or a 10% bump or anything? It's like, no, it's absolute. So if you're the winning bid and it ends at $105,000, you put your 10 down, you get a receipt that says pay the 95 by 5 p.m. the next business day, and where the 95 comes from, as long as it's delivered by a cashier's check, it's done.
What happens if they can't get the money the next day? Is there a time extension for them? Or do they lose their $10,000?
The question is, what happens if we can't pay by 5 p.m. the next business day? What happens? Well, what happens is by law is the $10,000 is surrendered, and the trustee will go to the next highest person bidding, and that's where it goes. Now, I've seen a couple situations. It's very rare, and so I almost don't even want to say it, but we've had a couple where it's just, somebody didn't think ahead and went, oh, well, I thought I could wire. What do you mean I can't wire? Wires never happen same day. I mean, it's just, there's always, when you want it to, it just doesn't happen the way you want it. So we've had situations where it's like, I can have the money tomorrow, but I cannot do it by 5 p.m. today. And on rare occasions, I have like one or two where we bought the extra day. But it was at risk. The 10K was at risk. All the trustee had to say was, hey, I checked the bank. Bank said no, and 10K is gone. And now, I've had some people go out and look at a property after they put their 10K down. I've had this happen a couple times over the years, where they went and looked at the property, got a closer look, and came back and said, in hindsight, I'm going to lose more than 10, so I'm just going to walk from my 10. So if I play it all the way out, I'll lose more than 10. Now, that's a tough decision, but it's a decision, that you got to, because it's like, well, do I play this thing out for 90 days or 6 months and lose more than 10, or do I just lose my 10 now? And you go, I get it, and then they walk. It's always 10,000. Well, you can put $1 more, but the minimum is you must have a minimum at all the Arizona auctions of 10,000 down. Yep. Okay, does that make sense on the commissions? start with conversation with your broker, buyer-broker agreement, a basic fee agreement. Again, here's the thing. Whether you charge, we charge a flat fee for our service, okay? So you want to, as you're figuring this into the cost for your, for your client. But at the same time, what do you charge? And I have people go, oh, Rick, what should I charge? Do I charge 3%? Do I charge 2%? Do I charge $500? And I've got people, agents all over the spectrum charging different fees. And it also, what's your value add? You can charge whatever you want. I'll never judge it. But it's what's your value add? Are you going to do a lot of the work? Are you going to do the analysis? Are you going to drive them for them? Are you going to, what part of that role are you going to play? Charge accordingly. I have somebody who charges $500, and they do a lot, and I think it's way too low. I think it just, now they are getting the back end listing, so they're kind of playing a little light on the front and heavier on the back. That's fine, and that's their deal. But I know the work that she does on the front end, and I just think she should charge more. But that's her call. I'm not judging it one way or another. Again, it goes back to value add. Where's the average of it? I don't know, and I don't know that it really matters. It really is. It comes down to, what is the buyer willing to pay you for the service you're going to provide, and what is that service? It really comes down to, what's your value? What are you going to do? Because I know agents that do everything, including managing the project all the way through in the end listing. So, so they're compensated well, and that's good, and they should be. And but what's the number? I don't know, and because I don't know what everybody charges, but it's really between them and their clients. So. Should they charge more than 3%? I don't know. Depends on what you're doing. But if you're getting the front end and the back end, do you need to charge more than 3%? Again, I don't know. So again, not judging it, just kind of looking at it for what it is. Comes down to value add, and that's the last point on that slide. Okay, we talked about this a little bit at the front end. It comes down to, the first step is exit first. Whoever you're talking to, whatever the scope of what they're looking for is, your first question is this. Anybody who comes to me and goes, Rick, I want to buy a trustee sale, I want to step into this space, I go, okay, perfect. What's your exit strategy? It's almost always my first question to them. And sometimes I get just a boom, I'm going to do a fix and flip, or boom, I'm going to, we decide we're going to turn it into a rental. That's phenomenal. But when I get the bewildered look on, well, what do you mean? And I go, well, here's what I mean. And it comes down to this. If you're buying, fixing, and flipping, you're adding value, and you're flipping, that's a very specific strategy in my opinion. And not every property is good for fix and flip, and not every property is good for a rental, which the middle one there is wholesaling. If you have the chance to wholesale, that's beautiful, right? If you got a group of buyers, you may have a handful of people in Canada who want them, and they got their own crews, they got their own exit, they got their own everything. They just want you to acquire and identify and acquire. Flip it for your fee, flip it for whatever amount, that's phenomenal. Coming down to buy and holds, though, that's another strategy. And again, I'm going to create a distinction real quick with two properties that we saw earlier on the slides. The property on Yuma and the property on Solomon. Solomon is a great fix and flip property. Not just because I made a profit on it, because it's the dollar amount in the way it rolls. Here's why. I had about $100,000 into it, give or take. And if for some reason the market just wasn't what I thought it was, I missed the mark on retailing it out, the most I could get rental on that is about $750 a month, if I'm lucky, okay? And that's one renter, one income stream for $100,000, portfolio amount. Where if I flip over and I take a look at the Yuma property, even after fix-up, say I got $40,000, $45,000 into it, I've got 4 doors producing me income. So I look at it this way. Instead of buying Solomon as a rental, I should sell Solomon at cost and break even, get my money out, and go buy 2 Yumas, the equivalent of it. So then I have 8 doors, about $90,000 invested, and about at $400 a month rent with 8 doors, $3,200 in gross income compared to the $700 I would have had if I left Solomon as a rental. Does that make sense? Your risks on one versus the other are just, it's huge difference, big swing. So be careful in allowing your investors and the people you're working with to jump into the wrong, again, we're only spending a minute on that. There's a whole much more in-depth conversation about what really makes a good rental versus not, and it comes down to cap rate. And again, we can talk about that. We can create a whole nother lunch and learn about determining cap rate and what makes a good this versus a good that. But I hope the distinction is clear enough on those two properties that I'm better off selling Solomon even at a little bit of a loss. And if I want those rentals, drive it all into buying the equivalent of 2 Yumas, 8 doors, performing, and forget about it for the rest of your life. Just drive out, collect your rents, keep it up, so people want to live there, and keep on going.
You made money on Solomon anyway, didn't you?
No, I made money on Solomon, but the distinction is this. Solomon is a great fix and flip. It would not be a great rental because I can't get enough rent for the $100,000 cost basis I had into it. Whereas the Yuma properties make great rentals. The difference is exit strategy. What makes sense in what category? So
Yeah, that brings up another question.
Sure.
How does the realtor or the person buying determine what kind of rents are, how do you go about finding out in a certain area what kind of rents are normal?
that's a great question. So, and I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, but a really important question. How do I know what rents are? Well, there's a couple different ways to go about it. Number one is, if renting and doing the property management is not your forte, then find somebody that it is, and they can give you that information. In addition to that, if you just want to do a quick spot check, let's say you're buying it for somebody, they're saying, I'm going to manage it myself. Then you want to go to MLS and see what rents in the, I use the map search all the time in MLS because it just, I use the map search and then I choose rental or resale, whichever one, and then I put my address in and it gives me the surrounding area. So I can look specific to that area, a mile radius, 2 mile radius, half-mile radius, and I can look at available rents, like what rented recently and what's for rent. And that's another way to do it. But if, just like I said when I got involved in the property on Brown, the Aspen Ridge property, the 96 units, that was not my forte, and I knew it wasn't my forte. I came to the table with what I knew and what I was good at, and I left the rest of the professionals. So it's a great question, and if renting and going through the process until you learn it is not yours, a property manager, engage with a property manager, and let them do what they do best. Because there's nothing worse than going, oh, and don't worry, I'll rent it for you, and I'm not saying this is what you would do, but stepping out into something you don't know and aren't proficient at, I think it's the mistake of a lot of licensed business that they take on something they shouldn't, and then the DB gets involved going, would you stop that? Like, don't ever do that again, and then they have to clean it up to some degree. So, great question, but that's really where I go. Go to the professionals first, and then MLS has some assistance in there as well. Okay, how to analyze the deal. I am going to, because this is you should learn all by itself. How to analyze the deal. In your packet on the left-hand side, there's a one-page. You don't have to grab it now because I'm not going to get into it heavily, but it's all these characteristics. It starts with the market value, which is a big variable in this, because my opinion of value may be different than yours and may be different than yours on the same home. And we all have to back up with, with our own reasoning as to why we think market value is that. And so it's an opinion at that point. And the amount of money that someone's going to take out of their pocket for repairs is another big variable. That is a tool. It's a very basic tool to follow. Now, if you want that tool, again, not into it in any more detail than that, if you'd like that tool in Excel, because it's the tool I created years and years ago to go, hey, I need to keep my head straight on these deals, the numerics of the deal to see if it's good or not, I created that spreadsheet. It has changed very little since then, and I could make it a whole lot more elaborate and a whole lot more complex, but why? It gives me the same answer that I need. Email Johnny, and Johnny would be more than happy to forward you one and email for coming today, besides lunch. We'd like to share that with you, and we'd be more than happy to even show you how to use it, better yet. So that's available to you. But it's all about coming down to, if I'm buying at auction, what should I bid? That's a tool to help you. Go ahead.
We get the sheets the day before, and we get the repair costs.
That's a great question. So when you do an analysis, like, hey, I'm sitting down at my desk and I just identified a property that I think we should look at, so I'm going to start filling this out, okay? So what do I put in for repairs? Now, I want you to hear me on this, then I want you to absolutely and unequivocally forget I told you it. Is that a deal? You have to what? You have to figure a plug number in there, okay? The plug number, I do this. If it's a sweep, if it's built, in the last 10 years, I put 10 grand in for repairs. And then I add about 5 grand for every, kind of like 5 grand for every next 10 years older I get. Does that make sense? And then I stop at about 25,000, 30,000 because, then you get into the 1960s and 50s where they're block homes, where you kind of get some of that back because they're pretty solid if it's truly block, and you don't end up spending all that extra dollars in it. Now, I do the plug number just so I can get to the answer because I haven't driven it yet. Then I'm going to drive it, or I'm going to go through a company like Property Video Reports, and it's propertyvideoreports.com. I share that with you because I've used them for the last 2 years. They've been in business about 2 years, a little bit more. They are a company that goes out and takes a video for about like $25. Very nominal fee. They do a lot of it, and they've been very gracious about kind of coming back around and being open to what we're looking for. I don't need just a picture of the outside of the home. I can get that off the internet. What I need is somebody to go up to a fence and hold the camera over and show me the AC unit on the side of the house. I need them to go to the other side and look at the other side. And if there's a pool in the back, it's vacant. I need them to, get through the gate and jump a fence or whatever to show me more of what I need. Now, if it's occupied, they're respectful. They're not going to do anything you wouldn't do in terms of going to the house. But as an alternative to you driving it yourself, I've used them for 2 years. I've probably bought a lot of properties through that particular service because I either don't have the time or I just don't desire. Because for $25, I really can't drive out with gas, my time, and everything else and do it. But they were very open to, we'll show you what you've been asking for to look at. And I've got a background in real estate, obviously, but I've got a background in home inspection. I know what home inspectors are looking for. I have a license. I don't keep it active. So, I went down the list with them and I said, I got to know about ACs, and I got to know, I need you to look at a home this way. So, tool that way. So, coming back around to your question is how do I do that if I'm just sitting at my desk and I'm analyzing this deal? Once you've then driven it or you have a video showing you, what it looks like, because you're really looking for a burnout, right? You don't want to step into that. That's the worst case scenario. Then you can modify your number. Now on Solomon, like that property on Solomon, I figured it was about $20,000 for that home in terms of repairs. I couldn't see the inside, and the inside was a win for me. And a video wouldn't have shown me the inside, so I played it right. And I didn't change my number before and after seeing it. I knew it'd be $20,000. I stayed with $20,000. But if I could have got inside that home, I could have lowered it to probably $15,000, right? Taking some off, knowing what I knew at that point, which would then allow me to do what? Pay more at auction for the home if I needed to, right? If the bidding wasn't such that, it stopped where it stopped and I was grateful. But if it was a little more aggressive, that extra $5,000, that extra knowledge would allow me to be a little bit more astute in my bidding. Make sense? So don't plug a number and stay with it. That's what I've asked you to forget and not do. You must put a number in, then you must drive it, or you must get a video. You must have something coming back, or hire a buddy to go out and drive it for you. For years, I wouldn't let anybody drive a property and give me their opinion until I found this group, and they were really open to, helping us create a better product. Okay, what we do real quick, we're capturing all the data, the real-time updates, the short list, which is what I call the open bid list, drop bids and late bids, which is really critical. If you have people in play and you know areas, we do drop bids and late bids right to your phone, which says, hey, this is an opening bid yesterday of $100,000, and today it's got an opening bid of $42,000. At $100,000, nobody was interested. At $42,000, we're all interested, and that comes to your phone. Now, you may be able to play and react to that, and you may not, but it's up to you. We put together, and we call it the 13-minute sale. We had a deal where we just, bam, like the drop bid came to us that morning at, I don't know what it was, a little after 10 o'clock, 10 a.m., say 10:10, and we notified all the clients who we knew would be interested in that area. We shot the information out, and because that property had postponed and somebody had already done the due diligence and knew what it was worth, they called us back, said, here, this is what I'm bidding on it because it's what I bid on last time, and we called down to auction after we clarified everything we need to from lien position, taxes, and arrears. We called it down to auction. It was just coming up for sale. We put the bid in. All of that happened in 13 minutes. And now that's exciting, right? Because who can buy, procure real estate in 13 minutes? But being in this space, that's the fun of it to me. I mean, that's the drive and that's the thing. It's, because you're getting that diamond in the rough. And a lot of people don't play the game that way. They're kind of like, oh, what is that drop bid, what? And it's like, yeah, you keep ignoring it, right? And we'll play. And because, hey, it's a property, and we all win when that happens.
How often do you have your own investors bidding against each other? And you've got one guy down there, and you've got 3 investors that are all part of your foreclosure. What do you do then?
That's a great question. So the question is, what do we do when we have multiple clients, right? Let's say these are all clients in this room, and you 3 individually want to bid on a single property. We represent, and it's in our agreement, the agreement in the folder. In there, we represent highest and best. So the person who stepped up and said, I'm going to bid the highest, and I'll go the highest, that's the one we represent. So in a sense, and we all out in the agreement, in a sense, we have kind of an internal auction before the actual auction, and then we step out and bid. With that said, the way to play this game is this. If you or your client are looking for a property, I've never gotten emotionally attached to a property, and that's really fortunate for me. A lot of people don't play it that way. I mean, I have people who go, Rick, can you tell me if this is coming up for auction? Yeah, I really want it. I got to have that property. And then it postpones. They call me back and they're frustrated the next month. Oh, why do you think it's postponing? Why? I'm not sure exactly why. And so, but I'm like, this is already, the train is already coming off the track, right? And then the next month they postpone again and they're calling me and it's even more. Oh my God, when do you think it's going to go? Do you think, this time? I'm like, I don't know yet. It's just, all I know is numerically, it either makes sense for me or it doesn't. And postponements don't bother me because I'll just play on it. Whether it's a week or a month, I'll just play on it again because I play every day. They're playing to buy one property. Very dangerous. So my point with that is step into the space with knowing the numerics. Especially for investors, it's real easy. End users a little different dynamic because, again, there's the emotion is there, okay, and we have to work with that. But outside of that, investors go, does it make numeric sense? Will I get my cap rate if I want to hold long term, or am I going to get the profit on the turn and based on what everybody thinks? If you want to buy one property, you should be looking at 2, 3, or 4, or 5. Bid on 2, 3, or 4, or 5. Because again, that helps hedge if you're bidding on 3 and they're bidding on just 1, and they outbid you on one of those, you've got 2 others you're playing at free and clear. While we do get multiple bids on a property, it isn't all that common. We don't have so many that it happens. I mean, it does happen on a daily basis, but we may have 20 bids in a day. And maybe only 4 or 5 of those have multiple bids. Because the hot properties are the hot properties. That's just the way it comes down.
Another question. We had a short sale in Maricopa. It took a year to finish it, our sale. And one of the reasons was that outside of all the stuff that you have on, we're dealing with an HOA that had gone to an attorney and had attorney's fees on there and trying to negotiate. So some of the properties you mentioned here probably did not have HOAs on them, which the newer ones have it. So how do you deal with that in your scenario?
In Arizona, HOAs get wiped out whether they have a lien on the property or not. So past HOA dues disappear.
I'm sorry. We had a 3 or 4 situations.
At trustee sale.
He's talking about trustee sale.
At trustee sale. Now, in Nevada, which we have an office in Nevada, we have one in LA, and we're bidding in Tucson. In Nevada law allows the HOAs the past 9 months of HOA dues. Okay, and then but the title companies are very well adept to that. Now here, that is not the case in trustee sale. Okay, in short sale, yeah, everybody's got their hand out and looking for dollars.
To lose your house.
Right. Okay, so kind of dropping down what we do all the way down to bid execution. We're giving opinion on lien position, taxes, and lien position is the most important thing. Some of you may come today and go, you know what, I get this. I think I'm going to go do it on my own. I get it. Okay. But there's certain things if you're representing a client and if you mess up on a lien position and there's a senior lien position, whatever money was put out is subject to something else ahead of it. Please don't get into that. If you're going to step into this space by yourself, make sure you know exactly what you're doing because I started without a safety net and over the course of time, my experience created my safety net. So there's things that I even forget to tell people that are important, but it's all stuff that we check. Lien position is probably one of the most detrimental things because what we've seen today is when we're starting to see it again, and we haven't seen it for the last 4 years, is second position liens in the last 4 years went, we're not even going to bother because I have to write a check to a trustee to have them try to get my, they weren't getting their money back. So the check they wrote was for naught. But today, as the market starts rising again, there's a little bit of equity position in some of those, and they may get some, and they may be able to go to auction and get bought. So today we're starting to see more of it come back, and probably over the last couple of months I have. And because my team, when they can't figure it out, or our title companies are giving an opinion going, yeah, that may be a second, it's a little cloudy, I like to jump in because I've looked at probably literally thousands of title plants and records, and I go on Maricopa.gov all the time and try. This morning I was, in fact. And we still didn't feel good about it after I looked at it and the title companies gave their opinion. And I said, we're not bidding on behalf of our client. So if it is gray, if it is cloudy, we will pull out. And we've had a few of our clients come back to us and go, what do you mean? My title company said it was clear. I'm like, shoot, fine. I'll bid if you're saying bid. I'm saying we don't bid, right? And I'll tell you, I'll call you and go, hey, we're going to. And I've had a few people come back and go, no, I know my title company said it's clear. And I'm saying, I'll bid it for you, but I'm telling you it's not. And in fact, it turned out not. And it's one of those things going, I don't know, you better double that's why we have two title companies we get an opinion from, and we have a third check, which is our own access to a title plant. So it's just, you can't be careful enough on those. Question?
Also, what happens, we had one that, townhouse in South Point, and we had a contract, but it went into foreclosure anyway. It just wasn't enough time to get it done. But the client has second on, let's say, for $25,000. I just saw him the other day, he's still paying on the second. It's been about 2 years now, and he's making the payments that went to I thought
Did the first go through auction?
the first went through auction.
The first went through auction, and he's paying on his second. Do you know why he's paying on his second? Because he signed a promissory note. The deed of trust no longer exists. When the first went to auction, it wiped out the security with respect to the property for the second position. But the guy's paying on the second, for, because he's choosing to, because they're after him for it, because he signed a promissory note. He signed personally to say, regardless of the security of the home with the deed of trust, I will pay you. And that is why he's still paying on the second.
Do you think he signed the promissory note when he got the loan in the first place, or when?
I do think he signed the promissory note when he got the property in the first place. I'll tell you this, Titan is our in-house hard money lender. When you borrow money on a property from Titan, at the time, the check's right there on the desk, and you're signing a deed of trust, you're signing an investor certificate, if certifying you are an investor, if that is the case, and we have a different program for end users, and then you're also signing a promissory note. So yeah, you're signing all of that right at that time. So I believe, I don't know for sure, but I believe that individual that you described signed the promissory note at the time of the deed of trust. And I'm glad you did. I'm glad you picked up a nugget. So you saw what we did on the last slide. Here's what you do. I'm running a little bit longer, so I'm gonna get us out of here in just a minute. But I want to show you the site because the tool is one of the most important components. But what you do is simple. It's run your list of properties, analyze and drive, and then place your bid. So we've really honed down, what you have to do to a real science. And now the detail of that. Let me, before we do the getting started, let me just switch over and show you the site real quick. So this is our website, the INFOclosure website. This is actually the room you're sitting in, if you recognize that. Now, this site has a lot of bells and whistles, but this is what I do every day. So I log into the site, and as you can see, and again, this might be a little far away, but this is the big list. You have a copy of the big list with you. That's in your packet. The open bid list is the list that I care about, because I don't care about the postponements. I'll pick those up on whatever the future date is. What I care about is what's coming up with an opening bid for tomorrow, and that's right here, Thursday, 3/21/2013 for Maricopa County. We've got Pima, Pinell, Clark County, which is Las Vegas, and of course LA County. So it's real simple. I drop in. This gives me, the detail of the individual properties plus the map below it. But again, I'm not even slowing down and waiting for that. I'm going to hit export, which is right here, and that drops it out to Excel for me. So now I've got all of that data, which is, I forgot to look at the number. There's 61 opening bids right now for tomorrow. Now, between now and the end of the day, that may increase and it may decrease. Some of those with opening bids may postpone, and some that are TBD on the big list may end up coming to this list by way of an opening bid. Does that make sense? So there's 61 opening bids for tomorrow. It's real simple, and again, I don't want to get into the mechanics of Excel for and sorting in Excel, but sorting in Excel is easy. You can YouTube it and get a real quick lesson on it. But it's this: the gentleman who said, "Hey, my dad's coming down. Want to find a condo in Scottsdale." This is super simple. First thing I'm going to do, actually, this is already by city. I can come down here and go, okay, which is great, and this was not planned, but I can go here and go, okay, here's my Scottsdale properties. Oops. Here is 2 that are condo and a third that's a condo. I can delete everything else, right? From logging in to doing just that, what is that? That's a minute, maybe 2, right? Give me 2 minutes. And you've already identified 3 properties for the individual who said, hey, my dad's coming down and wants to look at those. I can carve those out, shoot them to him an email, and go, tell me which ones you want me to further analyze, or analyze all 3, shoot them to him based on knowing year built and square footage and some of the other things, value and surrounding. I think one of those is on Camelback or near Camelback, so they're probably a little bit more expensive. But again, that gives me a great starting point. That is how quick and easy it is to play in this space. Because now you spend the time analyzing and going, should we or should we not buy it? So depending on what you're looking for, your investor clients are looking for, potentially your end user clients, this is a place to jump in there.
But I think the Camelback thing is called the Shadows. Isn't it a big complex for condos? And they're huge. And you can see the outside, but how do you know what the inside looks like? Does it crack or not?
Very good question. How do I know what's on the inside? You don't. And that's part of the risk and part of the gamble in stepping into this space. I would say I've done 150 fix and flip on my own, including the one on Solomon, as well as the Yuma property and the big one on Aspen Ridge. I did not see inside of any of those. But based on my experience, my knowledge, and my willing to take risk for the reward, I went forward with it. Now, half are occupied. The other half are vacant. If the appetite and the risk aversion is there, such that I'm not, if I can't see the inside, I'm not. I get it, I respect it, and I wouldn't change your mind for a second on that. Half the inventory is vacant, so find half the inventory that's vacant. Look through the windows, get as close a look as you can, and make the best decision possible.
But you have almost the same building. I think it's the Shadows.
Hmm?
So you have one for 345 and one for 64. That's a lot of difference in one block.
Right. So let me tell you this, because what you're looking at here is saying this property is very close to this property. This one has $64,400 for original loan amount. It's not an opening bid, because this is original loan amount, and this one has $345. My guess is, and I don't know until we analyze it, is this one with $64,000 original loan amount is probably what? But no, it's probably a second. It's probably a second position lien.
They're all old. I know that area.
Sure, but the original loan is probably something else, and it's a different loan. Okay, so let me back you up to this. I've got it down to 3 properties, and I know a little bit more about my buyer. So I know the square footage, I know the year built that they can live with. The next thing I do, and this is regardless of which properties I'm picking out, I'm down to 3. The very next thing I do is I open up another browser window, and I go right to Google Maps, and I drop each one of these in. Google Maps has saved me so much time I can't even tell you, because I've driven so many properties where I got an address and Google Maps didn't exist, back in the day, at least in '98, I don't think it did, or if it did, it was way beyond me. I had to drive the property to figure out where is this. So many times, in Mesa where it's kind of University, just north of University, got that major power line going through there. If you know Mesa from Main Street, the streets go north, A, B, C. So you've got whatever the A's are, and then the B's, and then you've got Covina and all those other streets, and I like to invest in that area. It's right over here. But there's that one where it's just a power line shoots right through there, and I know FHA will not give you a loan if the power line could fall over and fall in the house. That's the basic rule. You're not getting an FHA loan on it. All my stuff goes FHA because of the price point. So just back in the day, I would drive up there and go, oh, here I am again. There's a power line. Turn around and leave. And then now that you've got this powerful thing called Google Maps, you don't know the condition of the home on Google Maps, so forget that. But you know the area. Does it back to a power line? Does it back to a railroad track? Is it adjacent to something I don't want it to be adjacent to, like a Circle K or anything like that? Very powerful tool. So let me back it up here. Logging into the site to getting to what I'm looking for and I'm interested in for the next day takes minutes, literally minutes, what was taking me hours before. Then with the power of Google Maps, you just cut and copy paste, you take a look at the map, and again, another couple of minutes for 3 properties, it's nothing. So in less than 5 minutes, I know what I'm now going to analyze, and now I'm going to spend an hour or 2 hours or whatever it is, and talk to the professionals, whether it's a property manager, another real estate agent, my investor, or my buyer, get the collective opinions, and then go through an exercise like the max bid sheet and figure out, is this worth buying and at what price? Does that make sense? Okay. So the site has a whole lot of other bells and whistles, and I'm going to take 1 minute to show you one more of those because it's an important one. When you go to, let me just pick one here in, this one in Avondale. Again, we've got the mapping and it's loading right now, but I'm just going to click over here to the bid barometer, which is on the right side. All my good ideas come to me in the shower. I don't know about you, and I'm not trying to be weird, okay? But it's just, I'm being honest. That's where my good ideas come to me. So this idea comes to me, this is about 2 years ago, and I'm like, holy cow, I cannot believe I haven't thought of this sooner, but, you know, what can you do? And the idea was this. I'm like, I need a bid barometer. I need to know the strength of my bid, because I never know. When I come on my max bid sheet, I come up with a number. And then I have to wait till auction to figure out, did somebody just kick the crap out of me, or did I win the bid, right? If I won the bid, I had a strong bid. If I lost, and by how much, that was the strength of my bid. So what we did was, because we have all the data, so what we did was we spooled out a formula that said in the last 90 days, within a mile radius of that property, anything at trustee sale is here at your fingertips, okay? This has nothing to do with MLS, this has nothing to do with retail. This is the subset of the market that we're in. Does that make sense? So this property on Avondale, and I didn't look at the square footage, I kind of breezed by it just because I wanted to get to the point. The opening bid is $100,600, $55 a square foot. That's the opening bid. It's what the bank said we'll take. If it's that or a buck over or whatever, we'll take it. If it's, you know, if no one's going to bid that, we'll take it back. What this tells me is, in a mile radius of the green, this is estimated bid, I know it's hard to read, so I'm just going to outline it for you. A mile radius, there was 7 properties that sold for an average of $145 or $78 a square foot. So it comes down to this. When you're in your calm intellectual state, when you create analysis for yourself or your client with a max bid or you come up with a number. The number comes up to 105, and you open this and go, okay, 105 is over the opening bid, so I can play, and I should play, no matter what. If you're over the opening bid, play. But now you look at this and go, whoa, in the last 90 days, there were 7 properties within a mile of that sold for 145.
They sold to end users.
They sold to a third party at trustee sale. So I want to be careful. I just want to create a distinction about your word end user, because end user to me means the end buyer who's going to live there. So not necessarily, most likely, an investor. Bought a trustee sale. Yeah, this is only trustee sale, so thank you for saying that. So again, opening bid is that, and the average is this. Now, I can look at this and go, well, I need a little bit more information. So there's a button down here called 1 mile, and this gives me the detail of those 7 properties. So, and this actually, I remember that property, it's Las Palmeras West. This is the same subdivision. So while the average was $78 a square foot or $145, now I know based on proximity, and we sort it by how close it is to the house. So we kind of use that same logic of a 1 mile radius, giving proximity. So this is really close. This is just a couple doors away, 0.05 miles away. So less than 1/10 of a mile away. Now what that's saying is 1,800 square foot sold for $70 a square foot or 131. Now I look at it and go, do I really try to reach for 145 when the reality is it's probably going to be closer to 70 than 78? Does that make sense? This is a very specific tool to say, am I in the ballpark with my bid or am I not in the ballpark with my bid? That's all it is. It doesn't tell you what you should bid. Your max bid does, and ultimately. But what you don't want to do is, because when you're bidding at auction, if you work with us, you bid at auction, you can be on the golf course, you can be in your office, you can be wherever you want to be, and we'll call you at the time the bid comes up and say, hey, we're ready to go on your bid. Will you reconfirm your number? You reconfirm your number, and then all of a sudden the bidding goes and goes and it gets to your number. Now is not the time to reevaluate your number and figure out if you should spend more. It just isn't, right? Because your state is different. Your mental state is different because you're like, I'm playing, right? I'm playing. I want to win this. But when you made the number, you're in a calm intellectual state, right? When we went through the analysis and you stick to it, but you look at this and go, is the number I just came up with solid or is it weak? And if it's weak, then in your calm intellectual state, you see how far you can bump it logically. And if you can't bump it anymore, you can't bump it anymore. But knowing when you bid tomorrow at auction, right, when the phone rings, then you know with confidence that I'm not leaving any money on the table, I'm not doing anything foolish, I'm playing. Okay? Johnny, come on up. Because again, I'm just going to kind of roll this back. That's the tool. Again, it takes minutes to get in. The whole thing comes down to, should I step in this space sale or should I not? And that's really a decision you can make. If you don't, came and joined us for lunch. I kept you a little bit longer, and I apologize for that. And I'm going to do some Q&A here real quick. But the tool is very simple. It's geared up to get the information at your fingertips quickly, then spend the time analyzing, which is where we should spend our time analyzing, make our decision, and go. Play every day. If you're going to play, you play every day. If you don't, then people get emotionally attached to properties, and it becomes a disaster. So any questions that we have? Let me just say this last thing. In your document, working with us is really easy. We need two things. The agreement is on the right-hand side in the back of your folder there. It's our service agreement. Fill that out. Come in and meet with Johnny. Many people in the office you can meet with. You can call Johnny. His card is in the folder. And we got cards here. And we need a $10,000 cashier's check. You'll have access to the site, and we can move forward. Then you're ready. But if you need more information, more time on the site, let us know. We'd be more than happy to. Johnny, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, if you gotta go, you gotta go. But I got a couple of questions online.
Okay.
If you want to stay. So, one of the questions is, what's the difference between judicial and non-judicial, and how does the process?
Real simply, judicial, Arizona is a non-judicial state. Means in your deed of trust, you already agreed to the process. So with that, it doesn't go to court. It never goes to court. You're going to get a notice that your home's being foreclosed on. I'm going to kind of use an example. Like if I don't make my payment, I'm going to get a notice that my home's being foreclosed on. The bank's had enough. They turned it over to the trustee, which I already agreed to, and they're going to go through this process. And it's about 90 days unless they postpone it or I get it postponed, which is not easy. And you go through. So the judicial states are the old traditional with the mortgage, with the sheriff's sale. So judicial, mortgage, and sheriff's sale go together. Non-judicial, trustee sale, notice of trustee sale, and trustee sale auction go together. They're fundamentally the same. There's just a little difference in the process. But once it gets to auctions being cried out, whether I buy it, you buy it, it goes forward. The only one distinction is what I mentioned earlier was the redemption period. In a lot of the judicial states, they still allow, under the judicial process, a redemption period for the owner, the trustor. And but we don't have that here, which is great.
And typically, a non-judicial foreclosure happen quicker than a judicial one?
Yes. The question is, does a non-judicial happen quicker than a judicial? Yes. And the banks love the non-judicial states. Because it goes through without a hiccup. And most of the postponements are unilaterally all done by the bank. It's not the homeowner doing anything in today's market that's causing a postponement. Johnny?
A couple other questions. I'm going to go to this one, which I think is important. He mentioned that we had spoken, and he wants to know if INFOclosure provides answers to what the rules are by state. And I remember talking to this guy, Tom, about us franchising out and so on and so forth. So his concern is, are we cognizant of the rules state by state if he wants to invest, or his clients want to invest outside?
Yes. The answer is yes. Even amongst the non-judicial states, there are differences in rules in the bidding and the taking properties. For instance, I threw out in Nevada, the HOAs get 9 months of their dues paid by the new owner, and whereas that does not happen in Arizona. So we are aware of the nuances. Wherever we open up a new shop, we go through and we make sure we know what the rules and regs are. We have relationships with title companies who give us further support and go forward. So in all the states that we do business, Johnny, to wrap that up, yes, we do know the rules and regs, and all the places we're opening up, we will know them.
Okay, and then one last question I can answer. If I'm out of state, can INFOclosure.com help refer contractors?
The answer is yes. I've done a lot of fix and flip on my own, and there's many contractors that I would never recommend. Because I seem to always be looking for a new painter, and just because it's an art, and a lot of them don't do it well, and what have you. But like my flooring guys, we know people all over in different you need somebody, we're more than happy to recommend who we have. But know too that I have a whole list of people I'd never recommend to anybody. And it's not an attack on them, it's just they didn't meet my fundamental requirement. And
let me add just a little something to this for the people. We are currently putting together kind of like a Rick's list of who we know and trust, and we'll always give you options as to, well, these are the people that we think are good and that we've worked with. And I mean, obviously it's your own choice, but we are putting that together, and in every market that we're going in, we're going to put that here.
thank you. Question?
It's one of my babies. I'm working on that.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Let me give you a real quick on there. In your folder is a sheet from one of our primary companies that we get a title position, lien position from. It's Empire West. They're fabulous. And here's why they're fabulous. They stepped up and said, if you're willing, on the next property you buy at auction, you can bid on 50, and if you win the bid, this doesn't cost you anything. But the next one you buy at auction, if you agree at the time you're going to bid on it and buy it at auction, if you buy a title policy, we'll guarantee our opinion, which is unheard of. They'll guarantee the opinion, including your 10K. Takes the risk out of it. Now, if they're not sure, they're going to come back and go, no. Like this morning, they said, we're not sure. I always double check, in case I look at it and go, wait, I found the release or I found the whatever. I'll call them back and we'll have a conversation. But because I don't like to let anything pass that shouldn't. But if I'm not sure and they're not sure, we pass. But they're willing to come right down to it, and they will guarantee their opinion. Now, we say we have a non-binding opinion of lien position, which is true. It's not. I can't guarantee it. I'm not licensed in that field. We're licensed mortgage broker. We're licensed real estate brokers, licensed home inspector, all those things, whatever. But in order to guarantee a title, you got to have a title company, and they're willing to step in and do it. And the prices are really not. I mean, it's a little more expensive than like what an end user would get because it's an investment. But it's it's a great deal. And some people use it and some people don't. But I think everybody should do it because it takes the guesswork out of it. You can sleep good at night. Okay. Thank you for bringing that up. I knew that was in there, but I went long and I couldn't get to that. Johnny, do you have any other questions from online?
I don't have any other questions. I just wanted to kind of go through what happens next.
Absolutely. Go for it.
Thanks very much.
Okay, one question. On the, when you put in your highest and best, how soon do you know whether you're the highest and best?
If you're coming in behind somebody, you'll know and go, okay, well, you're top bid. But if somebody comes behind you, we try to make that call right away. I would say within minutes of that call coming in, we give you a call back and let you know. And again, that's up to you whether or not you raise it or lower it. But the key thing is to keep your bid in. Is to keep your bid in play. Even if you're outbid. If it comes in behind you and you say, yeah, I'm going to go to 120 on that. Somebody comes in for 125, and you go, you know what, fine, I'm not going to 125. But in the event that they're bidding on other properties or they decide to change that at any point, it goes right back to your bid. So you're not really out of it. It's just out of it if they fully play all the way through.
And we're staffed up heavy in the morning to make sure that if we have multiple properties that have an internal bid auction on it, we're way on top of that.
And in addition to that, probably 3 weeks away. So it'll take all the call out of there. Hey, how long before I know? It'll be like eBay. You put something in on eBay and you get outbid, you get the text or the email notice that you got outbid. It's going to be the same way. You're going to know right away, and then we're going to allow you through that link to come right back in if you choose to change your bid, and you may not.
How much do you have to raise your bid to be back?
You would raise it. You would raise it until you put in the number you're comfortable with, and it'll tell you whether or not you're then the highest bidder or not.
If you're working it online,
Is the basic.
if you're working it online, how do you get the 10K?
Your 10K comes in with the agreement. When you, like tomorrow you might go, hey, this is for me. You sign the agreement, you bring your 10K in, and then you start playing. But you won't have access to the site until you've signed the agreement and then you have the 10K in. It might be a day or two before you bid, or you might be ready to bid right away, but you won't be bidding, you won't have access to the data until the agreement and the 10K are in play. Because we're bidding with your 10K.
Do you have a practice version of that?
We don't, but if you want to come in, it's Johnny. We'll walk you through it and we'll spend time with you. I went through it really quick for one reason. I wanted to show you how quick it is to get your data and go. Now, I can go through with you and we can play with the sort functions and all that kind of stuff so you have a comfort level when you're ready to go. That's not a problem. 15, 20 minutes with that, we'll have you
And that's,
in shape.
that's kind of what I was going to cover. The process from here is everybody will have my card when they leave. If this is a space that interests you, you want to know more about it, there's actually two options. Starting mid-April, there'll be an academy available, and I don't know if you covered any of that or if you want to at this point.
We'll do, because everybody's now on our email list, we'll shoot that out to everybody.
And that's going to be a little further. That's going to be a real in-depth education piece on the entire process and the entire space. Your other option is call me, set up an appointment. I'll meet you here, and we'll sit in the conference room, and I'll walk you through the entire process, how to use the website, everything. And if you're interested, then we start playing, or we don't.
If we're novices, which we are, below amateur level, and we have investors, not us, but we have investors who are interested in this. You have a service, and what is your fee for services? Is it a sliding scale fee?
Our fee is a flat fee for service. So what we do on a $50,000 condo or $1 million property is the same. So we charge a flat fee, and it's $2,500. It's in the agreement, so it's all spelled out for you.
It's the same for any price?
And any price range. We choose not to do the sliding scale because, why should we collect $10,000 or $15,000 on $1 million property that we don't have to do anything different? So we want to bring that back to you and the investor. Now, you can go on the reverse and go, hey, you did a $21,000 fourplex, and and as a percentage, your $2,500 is really expensive. Yeah, it is, from that standpoint, but it's much easier to calculate and go forward if you know that in advance what our fee is.
The realtor or the investor?
It depends on really who's the end person. So, because really the investor is going to be, in a sense, paying our fee and your fee if you have a fee on the front end as well as a licensed individual. Okay.
And I'll go through all that.
Sure.
Any
Any other questions?
I apologize for how hot it is in here. No idea what happened.
We're going to find
Are
out.
we supposed to pay that bill?
We won't be. So let me say this. Thank you for coming, and we do have a lunch and learn tomorrow. Please feel free to join us. It's the first time we've done a hard money made easy. So if you have any questions, you ever wondered about hard money and how to bridge it and how to do it and how to set it up for an investor and what it really costs and what 18% really means, and we have different platforms and programs, it's a great one to come to just kind of have that whole thing broken down. So
Other than tomorrow, because we have a lot of stuff planned. Do you have another one coming up?
yes, twice a month.
My card is in everybody's folder. I'll probably be responding to or getting a hold of all of you folks after this. And you'll get a link to our website that tells you when each class is, whether it's a lunch and learn, an evening thing. And once you get on our list, we'll send you updates as to when we're doing stuff and all that. And I am available anytime, anyplace.
And you're always here. You're always here in this area.
Correct. Yes, this is our office, so you bet. All right.
Now, realtors, if you found this interesting, if you've got, if your office has multiple realtors, and this is something that you think your entire office would be interested in, please call me and we can set up
We have
something where.
1,200, we have 1,200 realtors.
Yeah, we would probably come to you.
You only have 1,200 realtors?
Let me think. 12.
Fabulous.
We could probably.
We could do
come to you.
1,200.
Yeah, matter of fact, we're doing that with a.
Deciding anything about that, with
Understood.
flunkies.
But if you know somebody that might be interested, obviously I appreciate any referrals, and we'll certainly set it up. The whole thing about this is, and I'll be really honest with you, I was in the real estate world in title, and I was in the real estate world in mortgages. I never knew anything about this, and to be honest with you, it scared the snot out of me. So I was like, I don't know. And it was really just fear of the unknown. Once I got in here and understood how really, it's not rocket science. It's really not that difficult. And I think that's really the issue with realtors and bringing it to their investors. They just don't know enough about the space. Our job is to educate. And then if it's right, like I said in the beginning, if it's right, great. If it's not, then it's not. I mean, nobody's going to twist your arm and say, get in the space. So,
Right.
Like, he twisted my arm to work here, but. Okay.
Very good. Thanks again for coming.
If anybody needs my card, I'm right here, and I'll be out front.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
John,